So next question, Vlad, with the German government collapsing, will the new German elections in February mark a key moment in the rise of the far right?
I think the moment of the far right rising, it won't be the next elections. I think this moment was a couple of years ago already, because if you look at the parliament voting of the recent years, you could see the rapid rise of the Alternative for Germany party. I think it was, it started actually in 2021, where, in 2021, where I think you can see the chart over here, where it was the skyrocket rise of the Alternative German popularity. And I think it won't be the pivotal moment, but they will continue rising. So that's my take. So what I notice, based on the news, based on what I hear from the people living there, is the country is shaking. The country is shaking politically. Country is shaking socially. Country is shaking economically. We can all see that as numbers. They had the very rapid economic growth right after the COVID recovery. They hit more than 4% of GDP growth. Now it's all around zero, plus minus 0.5%, which is nothing for the company for the country that is considered to be the leading European economy. Next point over here, another problem there is they face a lot of competition from China from the manufacturing perspective. I think the leading car manufacturer, Volkswagen, has announced to close 3 plants in Germany, cut several tens of thousands of jobs, freeze everybody's pay and make the 25% salary cuts over the recent 25% salary cut over next 2-3 years, and freeze the salaries as well. And they openly say that it's probably not the end. They actually facing the worst economic decline since 90s. And they used to be and they are, I think they are the icon of Germany manufacturing, clear problem. So, and then add to this all the immigrations problems, add to this a lot of social expenses that they must keep. So the country is shaking on this, and I think this is actually quite reminding. This is a very resembling to early, 1920s, where where we saw the first rapid rise of the far right party. So I think it won't be the pivotal moment, but I think it's already rising, and we can see not only in Germany, we can see that the Italy government is becoming more far right. We can see Austrian government is becoming more far right. Hungary is there. So there are quite some far right flames in Europe. I don't think it will be a radical far right, because the right political program today is very different from right political program 80 years ago. They're not militarists. They're not nationalist in terms of dominance of one nation over another. It's more of nationalism, protect national interests, protect your own people, be less in favor of immigration, be more conservative in terms of economy. So I kind of understand this agenda, and when the country is shaking, I can totally understand people supporting them. So my point is they're rising, and we will continue them getting the more popularity. And I think the good outcome for Germany and good strategy for Germany will be to try to find the coalition between the center and right.
The center and the far right.
Center and the right.
So that's interesting. I broadly agree. I think in some ways it will be a pivot point, but again, we're saying the same thing, only a pivot point in the sense that I think they're going to win a significantly larger share than before.
Right.
And I want to address another point that I just recently found out about and recently read about, which is also the rise of the far left in Germany. So what you're now seeing is that populism across the board is on the rise in a pretty substantial way. So again, I don't need to reiterate all the points you made. GDP is projected to decline last year, declining this year. Industrial production is down for the industrial powerhouse of Europe. Migration, we know about that. The population is in decline. By the end of this decade, it's going to be smaller than it is now. The Ukraine war has obviously had a huge impact economically. No more gas from Russia, or much more limited amounts of gas from Russia. hurts Germany massively. It's been a disaster for Germany since COVID, really. But what we're seeing now is that there's also, not only is the far right now polling, I think, at about 20%. So they won in that election in 2021. I think it was about 10 or 11%. They're now polling at double that, which is obviously a huge gain in support. But you also have a new populist left-wing party, only founded this year. It's called the BSW Party, founded by a woman named, I don't speak German, so I'll just try on this one, Sarah Wagenknecht.
Okay.
Don't know if that's any good.
Sounds German.
It sounded German, right? So if any of our German, anybody watching is German, they can correct my pronunciation. But this lady has started a party as of this year, again, back in January. She's branding it a left conservative party. So it's almost exactly what I was just talking about with the possible future of the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Which is, and this is wild, right? She's talking about that the party stands for traditions, stability, and security. A left-wing party, traditions, which is typically not what the left-wing party stands for, stability, security. She's opposed to migration, so the migration policies of Angela Merkel, which is interesting, right? So a left-wing leader, a far left-wing leader, is opposed to the immigration policies of what the center-right had done. Merkel was center-right. So that's, again, heterodox, and that's, I think, formulating what this new era politically we're entering in globally is, which is a populist era. Globalism, I think, is going by the wayside pretty quickly. She's also strongly opposed to Ukraine military aid. Very important topic. So what you said was obviously true. It's not about militarism. It's not about invading your neighbors like it used to be, 100 years ago, 80 years ago. But it is about, do we stay in the current arrangement with the American-led order, right? So obviously, if the Americans, now maybe Trump doesn't want to also support Ukraine military aid, but if that was what the Biden administration or what some of the American policymakers want, and some of these European countries are saying, no, we're out, we don't want any more of this, that in and of itself is a major shakeup geopolitically. So that's what she's calling for as a left-wing populist party. The right wing is already calling for that. The AfD party, for example. Yeah. So now you're getting the two populist sides of the political aisle agreeing on a lot of stuff. No to Ukraine military aid, no to migration, supporting family values is pretty wild, actually. And there's a lot of positive words that have been exchanged between the far right and the far left party. She also, this also blew my mind. She voted against a bill to make it easier to change your gender legally in Germany. So this is
far
left. This is exactly what I was saying about the Democrats. If you moderate on these other issues, you can go farther left on the economy. Because the economy is really what the pressure point in society is today. It's economy and immigration. And it's going to remain that for some time, I think. So again, you have an immigration hawk, anti-military aid to Ukraine, skeptical on modern gender policies, but a staunch defender of the welfare state. Again, traditional left-wing, left-wing policy, which is the welfare state and strengthening the welfare state. And her party is polling 8% nationally. So I just want to go through the numbers a little bit. Right now, what you're polling at in the German election is the center-right party, so Angela Merkel's former party, 32%. The AfD, the far right, 19%. Yeah. So the right is really dominating, right? The current government, so Olaf Scholz's government, 16%. Then her party, this upstart left-wing populist party, 8%. The Green Party, 10%. And then the other far left party is at 4%.
Green is also considered left.
Yeah, but they're not considered far left, right?
Yeah,
their main focus is the economy. So if you're looking at this, I'm looking at 2021 as you mentioned, and it was a huge year for the AfD, for the far right party, Alternative for Deutschland, and they won 10%, and that was the first time I think they had crossed the 10% threshold. The left-wing party called again, I don't speak German, Die Linke, I don't know how to say that, but they got 5% back in 2021. If I add up the far right and far left this time around, right? So they had 15% collectively for 4 years ago. You now have the AfD at 19. You have this new party at 8, and then the left at 4. That adds up to 31%. So you're looking at a doubling of support from the populist on both sides. So again, doubling from the AfD and doubling from the left. So what does that tell you? That tells you that populism is ascendant. We're going to see with this election. It's going to be very interesting because the more these parties are ascendant, the more difficult it'll be to form a coalition if you're the traditional parties. what that's going to mean is at some point you're going to have to work with either one of the more populist parties, or you're going to continue to probably lose elections. So I totally agree with you. This populist right wing and left wing is ascendant. It's not going anywhere. They will come to power. It's just a matter of time. And I think it's fascinating what we're seeing. This is a complete political realignment globally, where again, it's nationalism, it's populism. This is the future.
I think, the way I see it, German parliament is always about the coalitions. So I think what we will see is the alliance between some, like the centric party and one of these left or right. I think we will see the alliance.
They've all ruled out forming a coalition with the far right, which is obviously an issue.
Right.
So something has to give.
Yeah.